Psychoanalysis, School Integration Series, Discussion 5, the Oedipal stage. Last time we had a discussion on the anal stage, and in the natural course, today we move on to the Oedipal stage. What is the Oedipal stage? As Freud described it, it is a stage from 3.5 to 5 years. Some term it 3.5 to 7 years. Some term it as 4 to 5 years. Some term it as 4 to 7 years. One of the safest is 3.5 to 5. It is a stage in which the child develops a libidinal liking towards parent of the same gender, parent of the opposite gender, and aggressive impulse towards parent of the same gender. This results in the possibility that the parent of the same gender would come to know of it and attack the child, leading to what is called as the castration anxiety. So this libidinal liking towards parent of the opposite gender and a fear, a death wish for the parent of the same gender, leading in turn to the possibility of these desires being known by the parent of the same gender, and in turn the parent of the same gender would castrate or kill or torture or all of it, leading to anxiety called the castration anxiety. And because survival is at stake and the castration anxiety is very high, the child has to find a resolution. And the resolution is to give up the libidinal impulse towards the libidinal movement, the libidinal desire towards the parent of the opposite gender, and resolve to become in future like the parent of the same gender, so as to get in the outer world somebody like the parent of the opposite gender. And for Freud, Oedipal stage was the central focus, far more significant than other psychosexual stages. Out of professional interest and also personal interest. From both standpoints, the Oedipal phase for Freud was far more important than other phases. The significance comes out from Freud's extensive writings on the Oedipus and his use of that stage as he takes psychoanalysis to variety of areas, including mythology, anthropology, at times even history. So the significance for Freud was very high, which is very different from other psychoanalytic thinkers, for whom this was an important concept, but not as important as it was for Freud. For Freud, the centrality of the stage also was because of pathogenesis which he did of psychological disorders. And in most cases, the pathogenesis would lead him back to the Oedipus. And therefore, an unresolved Oedipus was at the root of most psychological difficulties from a Freudian standpoint. And the way out was resolution of the Oedipus complex. One corollary, for Freud, guilt was developed at the end of the resolution of the Oedipus complex. For Klein, the Oedipus was slightly different. One, it was important but not central. Two, Klein felt the Oedipus happened at 2.5 years, much earlier than Freud thought. And three, guilt for Klein was almost inborn. It was not created out of the resolution process of the Oedipus. And what was central to Klein was early life object relations, far more important than Oedipus. So Oedipus was important but not central. What was central was object relations, and to be specific, the paranoid schizoid position and the depressive position. This also creates a question that if for Klein, object relations was more significant than the aspect of sexual competition and the power relation in the Oedipus, then if we bring this insight into the analysis of the Oedipus, does the Oedipal stage then become primarily a sexual stage, an emotional stage, or an attachment stage, or all of them? And if we move away from centrality of sexuality and start seeing the Oedipus from emotional standpoint or attachment standpoint, the Oedipus gets transformed significantly into something completely different. It becomes like a comprehensive package of relationships in which the sexual aspect is one of the many aspects of the relationship. That sexual edge of the Oedipus is put aside. And this makes Oedipus a very, not only a sexual phenomena, but equally an emotional phenomena, an attachment phenomena, also a social phenomena, because Oedipus essentially then is looked upon as a triangle, and a triangle in which there is a sexual triangle, an emotional triangle, an attachment triangle, and negotiating this triangle takes us to the area of social skills, psychosocial skills. So then navigating the Oedipus is not only navigating the sexual desire, but also navigating the emotional turmoil, the attachment entanglements, and the psychosocial skills we have inside of us to manage relationship triangles out in the real world. In that sense, the Oedipal triangle becomes a prototype of all group relations in the society, because three or more is a group, and this becomes a prototype of society itself in a micro way. Let us now look at another important element, the prior stage effect on the Oedipal stage. One way to classify the central stream of psychoanalysis, the classical stream of psychoanalysis of Freud, Klein, Bion, and so on, is to divide pathology into two parts. So one way to look at pathogenesis is to divide pathology into two parts, the Oedipal pathology and the pre-Oedipal pathology. The question here is, does pre-Oedipal pathology have a role to play in precipitation of the Oedipal pathology? Or is the Oedipal stage independent of the pre-Oedipal stages? Obviously, the Oedipal stage is not independent. No stage is independent of its prior stages. And the pathology developed in any stage is carried forward to the next stage, and in all probability, it precipitates pathology in the coming stages also. So if Mahler's fusion impulse is not managed well, separation individuation has not happened well, and you enter into Oedipus, obviously the fusion with the parent of the opposite gender and the difficulty to separate from such massive fusion and a weak impulse at individuation overpowered by the fusion impulse, it would create a difficult situation to navigate through the Oedipus. So it would not just be the force of sexual desire or romantic desire, it would also be the more generic force of fusion at work in the Oedipal triangle. And of course, if we put in bisexuality and homosexuality, correspondingly the analysis has to be accommodated. So Mahler's fusion has a impact on the Oedipus. How well it has been navigated through does have a strong impact on our ability to navigate through the Oedipus. Second, if the paranoid schizoid split is open, not bridged well, obviously it has a impact on the Oedipus. The parent of the same gender is seen far more terrifying because of the split being open and the all bad object position occupied now by the parent of the same gender. And because the all good position is occupied by the parent of the opposite gender, it's even more difficult to give up. So with a PS open, it's very difficult to navigate through the Oedipus successfully. From an object standpoint, before Oedipus, if one has experienced severe object loss, object attack, or object unpredictability, all of the three will have an impact on the way one navigates through the Oedipus. If it has been an object loss leading to dependency, again, the parent of the opposite gender becomes such a good object, a dependable object. It's difficult to give up that object because of the dependency. If object loss has led to avoidance, it becomes far more easy to navigate through the Oedipus. So what has object loss led to does have an effect either ways on navigating through the Oedipus. If the object attack has been experienced, then the parent of the same gender is seen far more attacking than otherwise, and even more castration anxiety, and therefore the probability that one would go through the Oedipus very quickly goes on increasing. But if you have a situation where object attack is high and object loss has predisposed towards dependence, it's a terrible situation because you can neither give up nor feel safe from the attack. So you cannot give up the parent of the opposite gender because of dependence, and the attack from the parent of the same gender is seen even more than otherwise. It's a very, very difficult situation. And in all probability, it is a core of adult pathology which is going to develop later. Object unpredictability. This can lead to both clinging to the object or distancing from the object or being confused about the object. And therefore, we can have a situation where the split closes and opens. Or the object shifts from all good end to the all bad end. If it is a shift of object from all good end to the all bad end, result will be confusion. If it is rapid opening and closing of the split, result will be perplexity. And in such cases of confusion and perplexity, it will be a long drawn Oedipus, probably going up to 6 to 7 years. Marvin Hurwitz has done very good work on early life object loss leading to annihilation anxiety. And if that has taken place, even more difficult to navigate through the Oedipus. In all probability, the person will not be able to, and in later life will have both sexual difficulties as well as uh, intense fear of the authority figures. Based on early life object loss, I have created a model for describing personality disorders called the Valley Junction model. And from this model, if we look at the valley state, if the valley state is still active and avoided with great effort, it's very difficult to navigate through the Oedipus without the valley state being worked through. And in all probability, it cannot be worked through so early. So the Oedipus will get washed up, and later on in life, probably in therapy, the person will have to spend long time to work through the valley state of early life object loss resulting from early life object loss, and only then the Oedipus can really be resolved. Come to the third slide, integration. If we put all of this together, different theories, we see there is a fusion separation phenomena, there is a split phenomena, anal aggression, and then we enter into the Oedipal phenomena, which is sexual, emotional attachment, affect generation, and the social skills phenomena all in one. All these aspects are there. And if we look at it from this holistic standpoint, we have a much wider and more comprehensive comprehension of the Oedipus. Sets the template, how we negotiate the Oedipus, so of course, sets the template for a long time to come. Social taboo makes it even more powerful and perpetuates it. Affects relationship with the opposite gender. In homosexual cases, relationship with the same gender also. Relationship with the authority figures, relationship with enterprise, and comfort with one's own orientation, one's masculinity or femininity. So when we integrate different schools into the Oedipus, both taking Oedipus first, looking at the interstage effects coming into the Oedipus from standpoint of various schools, and then having put them into the Oedipus, when we look at Oedipus from multiplicity of standpoints, we are able to better understand the Oedipus and thereby better heal the Oedipus, because then we see in the Oedipal world all that is playing out. The object relations are playing out, the fusion separation is playing out, the annihilation anxiety may be playing out, the social skills triangle may be playing out. Early life object loss, object attack, object uncertainty may be playing out. And all of this is important for a comprehensive understanding of Oedipus, how to heal it conceptually speaking, and then translating it into technique. If you bring in code, another element of cohesiveness and shame comes in, and that would come up in the Oedipus also. And therefore, the whole element of defeat and shame would also come up in the Oedipal world. From a cohesion standpoint, the cohesiveness, the healthy self to bear the stress of the Oedipus also is very important. So with this, we can use multiple school phenomena as they happen pre-Oedipus and in Oedipus, all put together to resolve the Oedipus. Some say we keep navigating through the Oedipus all across our life. Some say we can resolve it. Perhaps there are groups which are not able to resolve it, and to the best they can, they keep navigating through it. And some who are able to resolve it. Central point always is the same. We all stumble through life the best way we can. Thank you.